Most players struggle to convert winning positions in the endgame. It's not that you suck at chess, it's just that you actually lack knowledge about the endgame. Your brain just is not used to endgames just yet. So, this video covers 5 endgame rules, after which you will stop blundering in the endgame and convert your advantages easily and start climbing rating faster than ever and start winning more games. Endgames won't feel scary anymore, and they will be the easiest part of the game. Okay, so now let's get started. According to this guy, the hardest game to win is a won game. The first thing that we are going to learn about is the rule of squares. So, for example, in this position, we are playing as white, and what we are trying to do is promote this white pawn and turn it into a queen by reaching the 8th rank. But we don't know if the black king can stop it or not. So how do we know that? We can either try to calculate the old-fashioned way, like we push, they come here, 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 and we queen on time. This will work, but let's be honest, this takes so much time, and in the endgames you're usually downtime, and you don't have that much time to calculate in these positions in the end game. What do? That's why you need to know the rule of squares. The rule of square is, let's say we start pushing the pawn the obvious way, g4. Now what you need to do is make a little square. First, look at this pawn and make a complete diagonal to the end, and now make a little square. This is your square, and if the black king can enter this square on the next move, then it will be able to stop the pawn. So black will play this. Now we can push and the square gets smaller, and the black king can't enter the square. It will play here. Now we can push. The box is now even more smaller. They can come here. And now we can just push, they will come here, and now we can queen. This is what happens if the opponent king can not enter the square. But what happens if the black king, instead of being on a6, it was on b6? What happens here? Now let's start and let's make the box. Now since the black king can enter the square, it will be able to stop the pawn. We will be able to see that. So always remember, if the black king can enter the square, it will be able to stop the pawn. And in those positions, you are better off trying to bring your king forward and trying to help your pawn promote. This is a practical example of how you could use the rule of squares in your game. Well, in this example, we are playing as white, and what we are trying to do is promote this passed pawn, and here we can try to play a4, but let's make the square. And now that we make the square, the black king can enter the square. We can push, the square gets smaller, but the black king again enters the square, and we push, they enter the square, we push, and they are on time to stop us, and we are actually losing here. So how do we use the rule of squares to the advantage? The brilliant move here is to play d5, sacrificing a pawn. If they don't take, we are going to push forward. They are forced to take our pawn, and now we can push. Let's make the square. The black king can enter the square, and we can push, but now things are a little bit different. The only way the black king could have entered the square if this square was open, but this square is occupied by the black pawn, and the only logical move black has now is this move. And now we can simply promote, and we are on time to make a queen. By the way, if you're rated anywhere between 100 and 1600 on chess.com, I've built a complete video course just for you. It covers the exact concepts that help me win more games. It's no fluff, just practical ideas you will actually use in your games. It's only $10 and it will be yours forever. There's a top link in the description, you can check it out if you're interested. Let's move on to the second rule. The second rule is that your king always leads the pawn. So, in this position, it is white to play, and what we are trying to do is promote this pawn into a queen and checkmate the black king. But how would we do that? Well, it's tempting to play pawn d6, advancing the pawn to queen. But it's actually a blunder in this case because it would just be a draw. Instead, what you need to do and what you need to remember is that your king is the leader of the army and it should always be in front of the pawn. So you should bring the king here, leading the pawn. Like, remember it like this. Your king is the leader of the army and it always goes in front of the pawn to lead the pawn. If it is behind the pawn, it would be a draw. So you bring your king in front of the pawn. Now the black king only has two options. Either way, we are going to go the opposite direction. Let's say they go here, we are going to go here, and now we have prepared a little red carpet for our pawn to promote. Now doesn't matter what they play, and let's say they play something like this. Now we can simply just promote our pawn to a queen. And as soon as you get this position where your king is on the 6th rank, and you in front of your pawn and in front of this king, you are absolutely winning. All right, it doesn't matter whose turn it is. It doesn't matter if it is black to play or if it's white to play. You are winning. And for example, in this case, it is black to play. We can go here, and we have already looked at this. What happens? The queen. And even if it was white to play here, we are still winning because let's say we go here, they go here. Now we can just push and we can bring our king and we are absolutely winning. So always remember, as soon as you get your king to the 6th rank in front of your pawn, in front of the king, you are winning. And this works even if the pawn is not here. It works even if the pawn is far behind, because what you can do is just push your pawn and it doesn't matter where the king goes, and we have the same position again, and we are just going to queen and win. And there's only one single exception to this rule, that is if the king and the pawn is on the H file or the A file, this rule doesn't work, because let's say we push, but in this case after a few moves we will reach this position where we can't force the king out because the file ends. But in these cases we can force the king out here or here, but in this case the file just ends, and it always results in a draw or a stalemate, and the best we can get is a stalemate. That's the third rule. And the fourth rule is opposition. So let's say we are white here and we are trying to promote our pawn. How do we promote our pawn here? Well, we have multiple options. We have just learned the rule that our king should lead the pawn and it should always be in front of the pawn, not behind the pawn, and our king is the leader of the army. So we have three options here, and what if we go like this to e3? It's actually a blunder and it would be a draw. Why? Because the black king just copies and it blocks our king from coming forward and making any progress. Let's say we decide to go here, they copy us again, blocking us. Let's say we go here, they copy us again, and in the end we will be forced to push our pawn, which goes against a rule that our king should lead the pawn, and this will just be a draw. So in this position, to queen this pawn, you must take opposition. Opposition is a position where you take all these squares and you force the opponent king to move to the side, either here or here. Doesn't matter where they go, we are just going to go off the opposite side. This is the rule number 5, the final rule. When you take opposition and they go to the opposite side, you flank off the opposite side too. Now it doesn't matter where they go. They have two options really that make sense. If they go here, you take opposition again. If they go backwards, you come forward. They go backwards, you come forward. And this is the same position we had earlier. Our king is on the 6th rank and this position is absolutely winning for white, and we have already seen this position. And if they decide that they are going to stay here, we can just push our pawn. They are forced to go here, we can push their king. We can come here, they are going to go here, we can push our pawn, they are forced to here, and we have this position again, which is completely winning. These are all the positions you could get in your king and pawn endgames. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching.